What's oh yeah, you're good. What's going on, guys? It's your boy Forte. I'm here with the homie Slumbo Backslap for another amazing episode of Damage Per Second Podcast 163. We had the Xbox Developer Direct that popped up today. We had some a lot of nonsense on the internet, but also a lot of things that people had to say. We're going to discuss basically our thoughts on everything that happened around the Developer Direct, but not to, sell anybody short. I just want to definitely get my homie Slumbo up in here because he's the man of the hour and everybody loves the opinions of the man with the mini slaps and the man that still hasn't made a
That's
video in a
clearly not
while.
true. That's clearly not
The
true.
man that hasn't made a video in a while, but
Oh my,
Slumbo.
just because you made like a video or two for the first time in like 8 months doesn't mean you get to say that,
I
sir.
still made them.
I'm working on the video. Don't worry about it. I'm working on the Exodus video. That's what I'm working on right now. But no, I'm good, man. Watched the developer direct today. Only games I've played today, just due to being busy and everything, is Prince of Persia, which, as I was trying to tell you right before we went live, I was playing Prince of Persia earlier, and I got this bug that didn't allow me to like move. And it is weird because it was like immediately after beating a boss, it happened, and it's like I couldn't move for like maybe 3 seconds. I was like, "What's going on?" Then I was able to move, and I was like, "All right, well, no big deal. It wasn't a big problem."
Mm-hmm.
But then I was talking to this NPC who gave me a side quest. I accepted the side quest, and then I couldn't move. Period. And I was just like, tried everything, and I finally had to kill the game and restart it. And I restarted the game, and it doesn't. I guess it doesn't do like auto saves like that. So like it my last. Well, it does do auto saves, but like my last save was at one of those trees.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like before I fought the boss, and I was just so mad. Yeah, I was like, this is like 30 minutes ago. I was turning the game off. I was that upset. I'm not too upset that I'm not going to go finish the game, but just like a little annoyed with how that turned out. But other than that, that's been my day. How about you, man?
It's been good. I worked earlier today. Went ahead and watched a good portion of the direct while I was at work, and then came home and caught I caught the second half of it. I came in right towards the middle of Hellblade while I was at work, and then ended up going back and watching the first two parts of it, all of Hellblade and the first part of Val when I got home before I was setting up the show. Really no gaming today because literally as soon as I actually came home late now for like an hour. I got off at 5:00 and then I fell asleep around 6, like just listening to everybody, either the direct was not bad, but not good. And it was just a lot of opinions all over the place. So that's kind of what I was doing today, getting ready for the show and, listen to you on Crossfire for a second. It was like, oh, Slumbo gonna go over there and talk on Crossfire before the show today. That's what's up. I was thinking about jumping in there, but then I thought about it. I was like, nah, I need to focus on getting the show up and running.
Right.
So I'm gonna just do that. But no, outside of that, man, it was just a really, really good day and just a lot of exciting people. Just looking at their thoughts of it on Twitter and everything, and then just the other side of that when it comes to people's disbelief that Indiana Jones is first person, which I thought was funny. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
You think that's funny?
It is funny.
We will discuss later. Okay. Real quick, I want to do a quick some promotions real quick on the DPS channel, which is also we're dual streaming this on the DPS channel right now. I have been playing through Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I will also play through Intermission in anticipation of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth coming out at the end of February. So I've got 4 streams up, probably about a good 10 hours total in. So go check those streams out, and I may be able to do another one tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So just go, just check that out. If you guys haven't, and when I go live, we can discuss all the amazing mods that you can use on PC that you can't do on PlayStation. Just saying, it's amazing. Anyway, yeah. Other than that, just wanted to get that out there. You ready to do this, man? You ready to talk about this stuff?
Yeah.
All right, we'll go, man.
Oh wait. My daughter is up here literally. What? Bye, Peyton. I can't talk to you right now. Oh, so Xbox Developer Direct 24 impressions.
Oh, hold on. We have a super chat.
Yep. Oh yeah. Go ahead.
So shout out to Erodimus for the $2 super chat. He says Slow Mo hates games that are first person in 8-hour ones. So apparently this is like a multiverse Slow Mo where like someone else that hates first person games in 8-hour ones, because clearly this Slow Mo wouldn't hate first person perspective games and also play Call of Duty, Halo, Outer Worlds, Cyberpunk. That would Wolfenstein. That would make no sense, right? And also 8-hour games. So even though I've enjoyed games that only took me 3 hours to beat, like Tacoma, or 8 hours ish, like the first Hellblade, or Miles Morales, which probably I platinum that probably took me about 10 hours, all 12 hours total. It's just funny how people, when you have a perspective about a game, people blow it out of proportion.
Listen,
right, Rodimus?
Listen, man. My whole thing is Call of Duty campaigns have been short forever. We're talking about 8 to 9 hours at the long end, maybe 10 at the long end. And this isn't even it's nowhere near as short as Modern Warfare 3 was when it was 3.5, 4 hours long.
Well,
we'll
technically, it's not really the Modern Warfare 3 campaign is not really 3 to 4 hours long if you're not playing on like Recruit.
Oh, it's a lot longer if you're playing on Veteran.
Like a harder difficulty. So like it really just exposed the reviewers who are bullet dumpsters in multiplayer games and couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with a gun, and they were the ones that were playing on Recruit, and it was like, oh, it's 3-4 hours, and it's just like, okay, sure. What difficulty were we playing that on? Did the enemies just fall over dead as soon as you looked at them? Like, come on now. Anywho, let's get into like you want to start this with Avowed first? It looks like you got it in descending order of everything that was shown.
Yep, sure do. So let's talk about it. Avowed. I didn't too much care for the first time that I saw it because I felt like it didn't look. I already knew it wasn't going to look as good as they showed the first time because that was a misrepresentation of what I think the game was going to look like. And I tried to tell people then, I said, don't get caught up on the way the game looks, because it ain't going to look like that. And I was kind of taken back a little bit, like not trying to say that the overall aesthetic of the game can't be what they're going for, because that's kind of the aesthetic that Obsidian has went with for a couple of their games as of now. So I really didn't have a problem with it. It was just more of, I'm tired of developers or just publishers in general showcasing a trailer or a reveal trailer one way and then your game being completely not
different
that
art direction, or like not as much, like
not even in the same realm. Not even in the same realm. So I was kind of taken back from that. But this one, even knowing that was still more of the case, I was actually more impressed with the overall look and feel of this game. I've never been a huge Obsidian fan when it comes to just the overall look and feel of their games, but something about this game when I was looking at it, especially once I got a chance to see it in 4K, like this actually looks really good. Like it looks really good. Now, when it comes to the systems and stuff and kind of the gameplay loop, it kind of feels like a thing that Xbox has a huge problem with right now, where a lot of their games feel older, like in the way that they like not we haven't played it yet, so we can't say that, but it just looks like it's older tech that they're using to make the games, which could be completely, debunked by the time we get the chance to play the game. And we know these are early builds, and some of these builds take up to like months to build. So we could be looking at gameplay elements that's like so outdated that it was almost 3 or 4 builds ago. So the game could be completely different, and they still had a lot of time before this game does release. But I was very impressed with what I saw and the overall like depth that they actually talked about when it comes to the game. What were some of the things? Because I know you love a city and you think it's one of their best studios. What do you think about this? A little bit more of a deeper dive in what Obsidian is doing with Avowed.
So yeah, I agree with you with not liking when developers have a teaser trailer that's like some kind of like it's not always created by the studio, and it's like a somewhat of a representation of what you're going to play, but it's not really. It gives people the wrong impression, essentially, and I think that's problematic when you are doing a new IP. Like a and Avowed's not really a new IP, but it is kind of a new IP. It's a spinoff of Pillars of Eternity.
Yeah.
But a lot of people aren't familiar with the IP, and then they see this and they get one idea based off its art direction and the darker look and tone, and then they saw the actual game last Xbox showcase, June showcase, and they're like, oh, well, I wasn't expecting that. And I
Right.
think that's the issue in marketing when they choose to do that. And I think I've always had a problem with those kind of things. That said, I do really enjoy Obsidian. I think they are probably top three
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to Xbox's studios, and that says a lot considering they have like 30 plus studios. I think they're in the top three for their ability to be very versatile in how they develop their games and the kind of games that they do make, and their stories. The stories are very good. That said, I I've said this before. I said this before today. I'll repeat it again. I do not care for first person perspective games and games where
Mm-hmm.
it's not like a straight up shooter. Like, sure, like I think every now and then a developer would nail it. I think CDPR nailed it with Cyberpunk, but very rarely do I think that those kind of games that are like action adventure-ish are really all that good in first person perspective. Now, this game is a RPG, which is not active action adventure, but still, I'm not too into that style. That said, I did think that the dual wands gameplay that they showed, the
Mm-hmm.
dual wands, I
Yeah,
thought that looked cool. And I
it
think
did.
that probably would be the way that I choose to play it, because I am still going to play it. And I do think visually it looked cleaner
Mm-hmm.
and looked better than it did when they showed it in the June showcase. And so I'm interested in this one. I think after the showcase, out of all the games they showed, I'm probably more interested in Avowed than anything else that they showed after the showcase. So I thought it was all right.
That's interesting. We'll definitely
I
circle
also
back
think
to that
I
one.
also think fall 2024 is a good time period for this game. Hopefully, if they drop it like in September, considering, I mean, of course, there's a lot that we don't know of release dates of games, but I think September for this kind of game would be pretty good if they
They're
decide to go that route.
they're not going to send this game out to die past September because Call of Duty is coming out and they actually see the data that Call of Duty brings in. Like they see all the data now. So yeah, this
Hmm.
game's not coming out no later than if anything, maybe early October. But it's not going to come out anywhere near what Call of Duty does because that just swallows all the energy in the room is basically gone when that comes out. Um, I don't think that, but I do think September is a really really good date for it. Um, I think the biggest thing ultimately just comes back to is just the overall presentation of how Xbox goes about showcasing their games. Like I think this was probably one of the cleanest, you know, um streams that they've done where they just pretty much just showcase game after game after game. And you really did get a good feel of what the developers were trying to accomplish in these different segments of the developer direct. Got a really lot of good information and stuff out of them. A lot of good, like quick deep dives too. Like it didn't have to be 45 minutes or anything like that. Just, 8, 9 minutes, just, the very high end 30,000 feet talking points that everybody can kind of grasp. And I think the only thing that kind of
I
go
Here's
ahead.
one thing I wanted to say real quick about
Go ahead.
Valve.
Yeah.
So I like that they showed they seem to focus a lot on the choice, narrative choices, and
Yes.
showing actual. And I'm gonna bring this up again when we talk about Hellblade. Showing actual segments of the game where there are like a particular situation where there's characters, there's a situation you have to make some choices or whatever, right? I I I just think that what they should have did was show the impact of those choices. So if you're going to go as far as showing me characters, a entire side, not entire side quest, but the theme around the plot of a side quest, and
Hmm.
have some dialogue there. When you talk about the choices that are made and how those choices have impacts, show me that too. So like,
Right.
show me the impacts. But I did like that they did show those aspects, because those are staples of Obsidian, and the roots of Obsidian come from Interplay, where who also comes from Interplay is a lot of Bethesda game studios,
Hmm.
uh, in exile by old school BioWare. So choice, narrative choice, and those choices having impacts in the RPG is really a lot of what's rooted in those games, and I think that's something they could have showed off, especially considering how popular Baldur's Gate 3 was last year. And a lot of people might be really interested in seeing that that's something that Val will have too.
Yeah. So the bigger question comes back to, like you said, you don't particularly care for first person when it comes to a game like this.
Yes.
Even though this is more RPG than anything, but it does have a lot of action elements. And I definitely agree. I do think when it comes to a game that has a good portion of action in it, that is really, really good to have it in third person. And by the way, I do want to mention I did see a bunch of people's tweets on Twitter or X about the game art for this. That does look really good. I was
Oh,
looking at
it's
that
very
unique, very unique. And
unique. Yes, like, I was shocked. I was like, oh, okay, like
yeah,
that looks awesome. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
That
it
that's
was
some kind of really unique next level kind of box art.
yeah, because
Yeah.
that just reminded me of back in the day when they couldn't fit every game into a Game Informer magazine or a Nintendo Power, and you would have to go into the store and basically buy games off of the box art because the box art looked so cool it made you want to buy it. That
Hmm.
looked like a game that when I walked into the store, if I saw the box art, I would look at it, look at the back of the case, be like, "Oh, this is a RPG." And then I might put it back. And then if I couldn't find anything that I really wanted, I would always be drawn back to that box art, and I might walk out with that game. That's what that box art looked like. But shout out to them. That was actually really, really cool when I saw it. But going back to just the overall tenor of the situation, I just think that a lot of people, and not trying to say that anybody's opinion is wrong about first person versus third person,
Hmm.
but I do think we have seen we have been stuck in a narrative where all action adventure games have been for the predominant portion third person, that it's kind of hard to like see it as anything else. I don't disagree that it's better in third person, but that's pretty much because 99% of the games we play that are like that, they're in third person. Like we talk about, the PlayStation formula with over the shoulder action adventure third person, narrative driven games. And that kind of seems to be the same narrative that is kind of creeping in with these games. Like, it's not that people are saying that it's horrible, it's just that people are saying they don't
It's
like
not
it.
their preference. It's not that.
Exactly.
It's like it's hard to have these nuanced conversations when people think in such black and white terms.
Right.
Oh, I would prefer a third person perspective. Oh, you hate it.
Right.
No,
Exactly. That's
I
what it seems.
literally did not say that. Like,
Exactly. You didn't
take
say
your
that.
fanboy goggles off for a moment and just like see what's actually being written, but what people say, or hear what they're actually saying and not what you want to hear. It's like some people just want it. Everything's great. I love everything. It's perfect. It's the most perfectest game that's ever existed. Every single one, all 5 games they showed, awesome. Like, do you really think people believe that? Do you really feel like that's someone's actual, true, genuine thoughts on those games? I mean, if that's the case, go, like there are plenty of podcasts out here that would just, be free propaganda mouthpieces for that kind of thing, but that's just not going to be us.
No.
So it just is what it is.
I like I said, when I was listening, because I purposely didn't call you and ask you about what you thought about it, because I wanted to have a genuine response to, or just a genuine take to exactly how you felt about it. And I was like, oh, okay, but I also understand that as a person that looks at people play games, it's like most of my shooters I play, like, do I hate third person shooters? Not really. I mean, I don't prefer them. I prefer first person for a shooter because that's kind of the type of game that I am drawn to the most. I feel like first person is the best way to play a shooter, but
I agree.
I don't hate that a game is in third person. Like, that might be the reason why I don't care that much about the Division as much as a lot of other people do. Like, I love the Division. I put over 600 hours in the game, so it wasn't that I hated it. It just wasn't my preferred way of playing
I
that
don't
type
want
of
to talk
game.
about how many hours I got in the
Oh,
Division
I know
because
you have a crap ton, because it kind of
it
marries
might be
both
a
things you
year out of
like.
my life. It might be a year out of my life or something. But no, look, like
That's the
I
same thing
agree.
for me, though.
I agree with you about first person versus third person when it comes to shooters. Like I really enjoyed Rogue Company, and I've got a ton of time in that game, and I think that game plays really really well.
Mm-hmm.
And but it's third person perspective. It's not saying that like when you have a preference for a certain perspective of gameplay for a particular kind of game, that it's impossible
Right.
for the opposite perspective to be good or to be considered good by you. But
Right.
it's what you would prefer, and it doesn't mean that like when the game comes out you're just like I'm not trying it, even though there are some people, and I'll bring this up multiple times because this is something that's probably gonna be brought up with Indiana Jones. There are people out there a uh, who genuinely have a problem with first person perspective games. Like, it makes them feel ill.
Yeah.
They get I forgot the word that they have, but like we've had, shout out to Eric Cuts for the win. She's been a guest on the show multiple times. She feels that way with a lot of the first person shooters. Some of them she can play Halo, but she can't play like Call of Duty. She couldn't play. I played Splitgate with her, and after like 3 matches, she had to bow out. It was making her sick. And so for some people, for them, it's like they really want to play these games, but then they can't deal with, for whatever health issue, they can't deal with that perspective. So that's something that's valid that people
Yeah.
should acknowledge as well.
Yeah. Cool. So Avowed comes out this fall. No exact date on it, but I am happy that at least gave us a release window for what time of this year is coming out. And I also love the fact that they kept it to 2024 with all these games that they did talk about and announce at the showcase. Your thoughts on the second official showing of Avowed? Where would you score that at?
For Avowed specifically,
Just Avowed specifically.
I'm doing a score for just one game for the showing.
We're gonna do one for each one.
I mean, in an 8.
Oh, that's actually that's a lot higher than I thought you would have gave it.
No, I said I liked it better than everything else that was shown.
Oh, you did say that. That's true. That's true. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm about the same. Like I said, my initial take on it was I didn't like the, and I think it was just because of what they showed the first time when it came to the reveal trailer, and I was kind of
Mhm.
taken back the first time I saw it. But after knowing that this is going to be pretty close, the closest you're going to get again to the final product before it actually releases, I think this is a good spot for it to be in, and I'm in that same boat with you. All right, moving on to the next one, Hellblade 2, Senua's Sacrifice, or Senua's Saga. No, not Sacrifice. Sacrifice is the first one. Um, the game that I care about the most at this showcase. Didn't need to see that much more. I cannot see more of Hellblade. It's the, like I always touted, it's the one game that's on my channel that I literally felt like I loved it so much I literally did a review for it. Like there's no other reviews on my channel but for that, because that game impacted me on a mental level so well that I was like, I have to like talk about this game, and I just did a review for it. So there was a lot of different things I wanted to see, or not wanted to see, or was hoping to see. Um, but I do think, like a lot of people been saying, a lot of the stuff we saw at for Hellblade 2 was stuff that we already know, things that we already
Yeah.
seen. The narrative is pretty much the same. We just got a little bit more deep dive into the overall um function of what they were thinking for certain parts of the game and stuff. I think
Mhm.
that was a really good insight, but I'm not disappointed. The thing I think I might have been more disappointed if we didn't get an actual release date and it's coming sooner than it's actually coming later than I thought. I was thinking March, like April, early April, late March. We're actually getting it
Yeah,
in
we
May.
talked about that last show, that we
Yeah.
thought it would be coming out before, before the June showcase.
Before
That's all
yeah.
I
Yeah.
just kinda figured they would have a release date for Hellblade because it's the one game that it's the first game that they announced
Mhm.
when they announced their new console, and so I kinda figured, like, that game has gotta be the most furthest along out of all the games that we're gonna show today, and that they will have a release date for that game because it's the closest to being complete.
Right.
But I do agree, like nothing that we saw from the Hellblade section of this show was anything that we hadn't seen before, and that including the combat parts that I feel like somewhat just off the trailer from the VGAs that I saw more on that than I did today with with this developer direct because at least with the trailer they showed before, I saw that she can use different weapons. I saw that there
Yeah.
is a companion that might actually have some kind of influence in the combat. Like there was at one point she's on the ground and the enemy's about to like hit her, and then like this guy comes and tackles that dude. What I would have loved to know more about on the combat instead of them saying that, oh, we did all these new animations and the combat's gonna be more visceral
Mhm.
and you're gonna feel like you're just barely scraping by. I would have liked to see that. I would have liked to have them kind of similar to how Avowed broke down how the narrative choices work. I would have liked them to actually break down like so. Here's Senua using a different weapon, and here are different animations that will you'll see when you're using that different weapon. Or maybe I don't know if this is true or not, but the other guy that that can be a companion, you can like hit a button to have them distract the enemy, or if you get knocked down you can have them help keep you from getting hit again as you recover, that kind of thing, like something there to kind of show me something that I hadn't seen before already. I mean, from what we got today with Hellblade 2 is we got a release date. That was about it. That's like the only new thing that we really got
No,
was
that
a
was
release date.
literally, yeah, literally the new thing we
But
got.
yeah,
Yeah, so all right, so let's talk about the combat because that's the thing that everybody cares about the most. I mean,
Mhm.
even me being a person that loved the game, I thought I didn't have a problem with the combat, but I wanted to have a little bit more deeper system with the second one. But at this point,
I don't think
and
we're getting that.
that's what I'm saying. And at this point, do you think that the reason that they're not wholesaling and giving us exactly that, like walking to a room and see like a 30-second non-cut up fight scene where you get a chance to see the actual combat in the lit room, not, because that's the one thing about this game. It's a darker game. So a lot of stuff could be kind of hidden in shadows and stuff where you really can't like make out a little bit of the combat. Um, which is not a problem. It's just that's kind of the way that the aesthetic of the game goes.
Mhm.
But do you think at this point that the dream of us hoping that the combat is more than what Hellblade, the first Hellblade was, is kind of out the window? Like I think it's gonna be better, but is it gonna be what everybody hopes it's gonna be, like drastically better?
Say that again one more time.
Do we
Couldn't hear
think
that
that
last
the
part.
do we think that the game the combat in the game is going to be drastically better than the first one, or
No,
is that or
no,
has that ship has sailed already?
I think we're either getting a minor improvement in the combat or it's going to be about the same, which is a bit disappointing because for me, the two biggest things, improvements I wanted to see from the first game were better puzzles because I thought the puzzles sucked like really badly in the first game, and I thought the combat was shallow because it's just you just had one weapon, very limited animations, only like three different enemy types, and it wasn't very balanced with the way because like in the first half of the game you're barely fighting, and then the second half of the game you're doing a whole lot more fighting and less puzzles.
Oh man, that bridge!
Right, right. It's just
Oh,
like
that
just
bridge! The
that's
bridge,
bridge is
bro.
crazy.
The bridge is great.
Um, but I don't think at this point now we're like that's in May. We're 4.5 months away from this game releasing. I don't think that the combat's that much deeper or that much better than what it was in the first game. So at this point, considering visually they definitely put their foot in it and making sure visually that it was an improvement over the first one, which it is. We're looking at kind of like how much better are the strengths of the first game, how much better is the strengths of this game compared to the first game, and that's narrative, that's the audio design, which by the way David Garcia, awesome.
Yes,
He's that dude knows his audio. Let me just say that
yes,
because he worked on the first game. He did the audio in the first game. Them talking about how they are improving upon that, like that directional audio, even more than just the voices. And then like I thought one of the big strengths of Bleeding Edge was the music, and the dude's pretty versatile because the tone of Bleeding Edge is very different than Hellblade, but he nailed it. Like I thought the music was excellent in Hellblade and
mhm,
Bleeding Edge. So that dude's awesome. Anyway, um, it seems like they are kind of doubling down on the things that were very good with Hellblade, which Hellblade One, which if you love that game like you did, you're probably going to be just fine with that. But will be, I think, probably some disappointment from people who felt that they could have shored up and improved upon things that were they felt weaknesses off the first game. And then there is, I think, a little there's a little, I think, so the whole thing about it being a similar length to the first Hellblade.
yes,
So the first Hellblade is like 7 to 8 hours to beat, 10 hours if you want to just do everything.
yep,
I honestly didn't expect this to be like a 20-hour game, so
facts.
I don't know why that's a thing really. And even though Aramis is like I don't know why Aramis has put me in the camp of like complaining about the hours. I don't think that's that big a deal. There's other things that to if you want to have a legit issue with Hellblade 2. There are other things that you could have a legit issue with. I don't think the hours is that. I don't think that's a problem at all, honestly. And frankly, usually with me, when I'm weighing which game I'm going to play next, if I'm like really equally interested in two games, whichever is the shorter experience is the one I end up choosing. Because I can know I can knock that
I
out
can knock
and
that
then
out.
move on to the next one. Right.
Yeah, yeah. I do not disagree. I feel like the first Hellblade was right where it needed to be. Um, the only reason it would get a little longer is if you got stuck on the puzzles. Which I hope they do a better job in implementing, because I do think that was like one of the drags of the game, you know.
Right.
And they were very simple. They weren't hard.
They weren't hard. It was frustrating. So like,
Right. I
let
got
me
to
say,
get this perfect angle to get this branch to
yes,
line
that
up with this branch.
angle.
Yeah.
I remember there was one part, and I can't. It was like on a platform or something. It was like a little bit later in the game, and I literally was about to throw my controller. I was so mad because I'm like, I know this is the answer to the puzzle that where I'm standing, and
Yeah.
it's like it just would not activate. I'm like, this is completely lined up. Like I don't see anything in the three different distances of these three things that had to line up for the shape for it to be like a problem. And I literally had to like walk away and then go back to it like 5 times for it to finally like activate that I got the puzzle right. I was just like, yo, this is,
Right.
if I get one more puzzle like this, it's just like I'm not cool with this. But um yeah, if they I would like prefer if they did like a different kind of puzzle for, and that not just the same kind of puzzle every single time, because it was always those kind of puzzles. They kind of like switched it up a little bit near the end, but it was always that kind of puzzle that was
Right.
just like, come on, can we do a different kind of puzzle next time? But
I don't disagree. I do think that is the biggest thing that kind of threw off a lot of other people. Like, it was always like this perfect angle you got to get this branch to line up with this branch to make this symbol on the ground, and the sun got to shine at this angle. It was. I remember the very first puzzle.
right.
I remember the very first puzzle in the game where it was like the sun was shining through the branches, and it was hitting against a rock, and it had this pattern on it, but you had to get the perfect angle to get the branches to block the sun in the direct like angle that it was to get the puzzle to trigger. And I was like, okay, I can do without that. So I want those to be a lot better. They weren't horrible, they weren't hard, they were just tedious and just needed to be a little bit more forgiving when it comes to like knowing exactly how to trigger it, and it's not
Mhm.
triggering. But like I said, combat, I just think I never had a problem with the like combat was actually fun in the game. It just got real stale by the
Yeah,
time you
because
got to
because
the end of
it's
the game.
shallow.
It's
Yes,
very
because it's pretty
shallow.
shallow. Yeah, so that's I just want more kind of variety and
Yeah.
like finishing enemies, attack animations, having different weapons definitely will provide that, and just more, because like I approached every fight kind of the same way, and so giving me like the putting me in a situation where I have to kind of change my strategy up would be great. That I would really enjoy that. But
Right.
we'll see, because we haven't seen enough to really fully have a full idea of what to expect from it.
Well, and the one thing I will say, it looks like they added full blown finishers in the game. Um,
Mhm.
Before, if you hit them in the back, like with the right attack, you can finish somebody real easy. This one, it looks like they actually have finishers that you could trigger. I like the dodge mechanic that it looks like is in the game compared to the one you had in the first. This one looks like it's a little bit less aggressive, and it actually makes it look like it actually fits inside of the gameplay that you're actually doing at that point. So there's a lot of things I do like about it, and I do think it's going to be improved. It's just that, I don't know. And the thing is, hopefully, I'm hoping to be even more surprised about it. The fact that they aren't showing a lot of it, and it might be the fact that the game is not as long, and the parts of the game that they would really showcase that type of in-depth in gameplay are parts of the game that you just don't want to spoil. So
Okay.
it could be something like that too. So I definitely want to give them the benefit of the doubt, because this is the thing. It's not like they don't know that combat is the number one thing that everybody wants improved. And then the second thing is the puzzles. Everything else in the game was perfect. The narrative, I don't feel like, even though some people felt like you did way too much walking in the beginning of the game, and way too much combat at the end, and it wasn't a balance on it.
Mm-hmm.
That was really to each his own type thing, because it never really bothered me, especially when you get to the end. Like I said, the bridge encounter was ridiculous. It's like, dude, I felt like I was fighting there for like 50 minutes. It was crazy. But but outside of that, everything else was good. I just think that at this point, Xbox they have a winner on their hands when it comes to this. It's going to be a great looking game. The perception of the game, I don't think is going to have nearly the weight of Xbox on it as Starfield had. So I think that's going to be a huge benefit to this game, where people are just going to go into the game and just enjoy the game for what the game is. I'm just happy to finally see a release date for it and see that it's actually coming. But the last thing I want to ask you about this game is, now that we have this release date and we actually have windows for the other games that they announced here, May is the earliest that we're going to get a game from a first party Microsoft studio. That means there is no first party game coming in the first quarter of this year. What do you think about that?
Trying to get a game per quarter is really difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And this won't be the first time that they don't have a game in that quarter. That said, platform wise, for platforms and first party, they're delivering more content than their competitors. So I mean, yeah, I don't really think that you can really complain too much on that front.
I agree. As long as they got games to play. So as long as the games are there, that's all
Right.
that really matters. Ooh. Hellblade. Can't wait for that to come out. Comes out in early May. All right, Vision of Mana. Have you played any other Mana games before?
Yeah, back in the day.
Back in the day, yeah. I played Secret of Mana on my Switch. That was the first and last Mana I have ever played. They're cool.
I really think this was a huge get for them, and it's not like it's huh?
No, I said it was.
Oh, okay. No, because they have the marketing for this game, and that says a lot, because now it's like they got the marketing for everything Atlas is dropping this year, and people are more inclined to believe that Persona 6 will likely be a multi-plat that also launches on Xbox as it does on PlayStation 5, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And then they also have now a better relationship with Square Enix, where they're getting Final Fantasy 14 that's coming out on Xbox real soon. I can't remember the exact date, but I know sometime in the first quarter. You got that game coming out, which is a massive MMO, probably one of the most popular MMOs that's out there. You got Persona 3 Reload in Game Pass next month. You have and you've got the, what is it, Metaphor something Ricasio, whatever the heck it is, that new IP that's coming. And then with Square Enix, with themselves, you have Vision of Mana this summer. That you got not in Game Pass, but you don't need it in Game Pass. You just got it on the platform, right? And so, what I would hope to see, because the game looks good to me. I think the game looks good. I'm going to buy this game on PC, but I hope people support it. I hope people, if they're really genuinely interested in the game, they buy it and play it on Xbox. Because what that's going to do, I think this is a very pivotal year for Xbox and Japanese developers and publishers in their relationship with one another. Because if these Atlas and Square Enix games do really well, I can see other developers beyond 2024 saying, it, these games may not do anything on Xbox domestically here in Japan, but overseas, we're making money off of it. So let's go ahead and drop that game there, because then maybe a game like Grand Blue Fantasy Relink doesn't skip Xbox. It shows up on Xbox too, and that game looks awesome. If you have a platform that has that game, I think you should get it, because I played the demo. It was awesome. And it's just, hopefully the Xbox community really comes out and supports those games, because if they do, then I think that you're going to reap the rewards of that. And hopefully a lot of that will also come into getting Final Fantasy VII Remake games on the Xbox platform as well.
Yeah, I think Xbox, this basically just shows that Xbox is truly listening when it comes to giving more diverse games on their platform, games that traditionally aren't something you see on Xbox. They're doing a even better job of getting games like this more and more on the platform. Games like, getting the Yakuza games on there, especially getting those in Game Pass.
Yeah, about those, yeah.
You got those on there. Then you started getting the Persona games. You got Persona 3 Portable that just it comes out. Is it already out, or is it coming out this month? Persona 3 Portable? I believe it's this month, isn't it?
Reload. Portable is the original game. Reload is the remaster.
It's
and
the
I
remaster.
think Reload is the first week of February.
February. Yeah. So yeah, they got a lot of games that normally don't hit the platform.
Yes, it's February 2nd.
Yeah, I knew it was coming up. So the biggest thing is, man, I just implore. I have no dog in this fight. I mean, you, Evie Slummo, you have no dog in this fight. We're just fans of gaming. We have Xboxes because we like the ecosystem. I've always been fond of just the Xbox ecosystem and everything and the things that they bring. And I like the fact that they're going out there to bring games that traditionally you wouldn't see on that platform, because they were more games that people wouldn't play over here. So I implore people, please download if you have multiple platforms and you were thinking about getting this on PlayStation, buy it on Xbox. It's the same game hopefully it's the same game. You never know. But if it's the same game, buy it on Xbox so you can show that, dude, we want these games over here. Even if if it's a game that's not for you, just tell your friends about it. Talk to people about it. Let them know, hey, Xbox do have these games, because that's the biggest uphill battle they have, is really telling people about these games. And yeah, that's a Microsoft problem, because their marketing still sucks when it comes to stuff like this. They don't even market it. They don't even market their console being $350 over the holiday.
Which, by the way, that turned out to be do really well for them. It's last December, and at least in the United States, NPD, Circana, whatever you want to call it, their data came out today, I think, and it said that December 2023 was the highest selling month for Xbox Series consoles in its existence.
Yes.
So that's pretty good. That was definitely due to the push for Xbox Series X, which Matt Piscatella of NPD said 2/3 of that was the Xbox Series X.
And you couldn't beat it for $350, man.
Right, $350 is a great price.
You couldn't beat it, and you're talking about with games like the Diablo bundle. Like the base system by itself was $350. The Diablo bundle was $399, and I believe the Forza bundle was like $429. So it was awesome. And we sold it. Guess what? We sold all those boys, every last one of them. So shout out to them for doing that. But getting back to Vision of Mana, I just like the fact that they are doing this, and I just hope that the people that are on Xbox that enjoy games like this, buy it on Xbox if you enjoy it. You know, if you have an Xbox, buy it on there. You know, it's not like you probably buying anything else on there, because this is one of the few games that isn't in Game Pass. This is not coming to Game Pass, so this is a full-fledged release that you will have to purchase. And you know, that's a whole nother conversation for itself, because you know, Xbox is kind of, you know, built a narrative around wait for it to come to Game Pass for a lot of people, even though there are some people that will just go out and just buy the game, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I definitely want to see people support games like this, just so we get more of them. And then the narrative of Xbox not having really good JRPGs on it can kind of dissipate over time, because now we're starting to see a lot more RPGs coming over, especially since they own a lot of the bigger Western RPG developers. They're inside of their stables now. Xbox has a lot of content that they can bring to people, but they're still missing some of that, you know, some of those genres like the JRPGs and stuff like that, like Final Fantasy, that we probably will
Yeah,
never see
I'm
again.
looking at this Visions of Mana combat right
Dude,
now,
it
and
look good, don't it?
man,
That
I
combat
wanna
looked
play this right
good.
now.
I
I
was
wanna
like,
play
this
this right
combat
now.
looked good, bro. I was like, yo, this looks really
You know what it
good.
reminds me of? It reminds me of, with less flair in the animations, with Genshin Impact.
Genshin Impact,
Genshin
yeah.
Genshin Impact plays like this, but it's less like the actual like the animation isn't quality isn't on the same level, which that makes it like MiHoYo, the developer for Genshin Impact, is like I think like 500 developers, so there are a lot of people there. But you know, and the team that's doing Visions of Mana probably is much smaller, for Square Enix, but regardless, animation, the difference in animation ain't that big a deal. The combat and how the combat plays looks very similar to that. And I enjoyed Genshin Impact's combat. I just couldn't get with the gotcha once it got to be
What
too much.
and what do you think of the overall release window for the summer?
I think that's a good time period, honestly,
I do too.
because so for a game like this, that's it's not the most visually eye popping kind of game, and then for at least the Xbox platform, not the most popular of genre as well. Summer is typically where less games are releasing, and there's less uh there's less competition. People are getting to their backlogs a little bit, trying to catch up from games that came out on the previous year or earlier in the year. Releasing Vision of Mana in the summer, I think, that's a excellent time period for it.
Nope, I agree. All right, moving. Oh, well, let me ask you this about before we move on to the next thing with Hell.
Mhm.
I meant to ask you about Hellblade.
Yeah,
Hellblade digital only, no physical release, $49.99.
weird. I
Yep.
think. Look, I understood it when Ninja Theory was an independent developer and they self published the game.
Mm-hmm.
So it's cheaper to not, to not do physical copies of the game. But now that you're owned by Microsoft, you still don't do physical copies. I just thought that was a strange move there. I mean, look, there are people that, and there are not a lot of people, like, because like every year, digital, steals a little bit more of that percentage away from physical. But I don't think it's so small that you just don't even do a physical release at all. But it's whatever.
Yeah, yeah, it's whatever. I mean, I was gonna buy digital anyways, because it's a game that I know I'll always probably go. I mean, even though it's a short game, it's kind of one of those games that do you really need to buy a digital copy? You'll probably never revisit it again. But they made that decision for us, by the way, so it is what it is. All right,
Hmm.
let's talk about the real time strategy game, Array of History Untold. Um, Not familiar with it at all. I just
Well,
saw.
it's
Go ahead.
I think it's. Oh, I'm not. I don't know if it's a new IP or not, but I think it's being made by a lot of the prior Civilization devs, which I've
Yeah,
played Civilization before,
I have to.
and I enjoyed it. Like I remember playing it on I actually played it on my iPad. But the most recently I played it on my iPad, and I used to play those games a lot when I was younger. I don't play them too often anymore, and yeah, I'm not checking for this one. I don't care for this one.
Yeah, how do you feel about? I mean, it is PC Game Pass, so I mean that is part of the Game Pass ecosystem.
This is
But
definitely a PC game.
It's a PC game.
Yeah,
So
this is going to probably do great on PC because
yeah.
that's the audience for it.
So do you think it's time for Xbox to finally make some type of peripheral where you can hook up a piece for specific games like this that can be played
Mhm.
on a console?
Well, I mean, they already did that. I mean, they partnered with Razer, who sucks, but I mean,
I have the Razer turret too.
but I mean, like all PC gamers are doing, you playing with a mouse and keyboard. Hook up, connect your a mouse and keyboard to your USB ports on your Xbox.
It will work.
It will work. Yeah, but most people aren't going to do that. If most people try the game, they're going to try to play it on controller. You have to have a controller option. So, like, I don't know if is this coming out like on
No,
Xbox the same time as PC?
no, it's
I would
PC.
assume not,
Yeah, it's only PC as of right now.
which makes sense because they got to spend time trying to figure out how to get that.
Well, you saw how long it took Age 4 to come to console, so
Yeah,
before it took a lot of work for them to get that controller support down. Yeah,
yeah.
I
Go ahead.
think I don't know. I just it kind of sucks. I will say this as an Xbox fan, whereas if you're at an Xbox developer direct and you showcase a game that you can't play on your Xbox, I don't think there's anything wrong with that because it's Xbox's decision to do that. But I do think
The console's not that important no more.
exactly, yeah, you're literally telling people like, okay, what one of the 5 games that we're going to show here, one of them you can't even play on your console.
Yet,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
yes,
exactly. Yeah, big yet.
yeah.
You right, yet. But who knows if
It,
you
it,
ever
it's,
will?
the console's not that important to them
Yeah, you're right.
anymore.
You're
I mean,
right.
it's important, but it's not so important that they're going to forego a surefire popular title on PC and delay that so that the console release, which is barely going to get like when you look at the percentages of like how many people are playing this game on console to PC, is likely going to be single digit percentages on
Oh yeah,
Xbox.
it's
Are
like
you really going to delay
3%.
the game so that
3%. Yeah.
like the 3% people on Xbox can play it? No, you just the game's ready. Launch it. They'll figure out how to make it work. A simplified version of it working on console, and then those 3% will jump on that later on.
Right. All right. So move on to the last one that they showed. Let's talk about it, man. Indiana Jones.
Here we
I
go.
Indiana Jones.
Hey, we about to fight.
I have some thoughts. It has some rebuttals for people out here. I mean, it may not be as bad as some people think it is, but I was very impressed. I went into this nervous to see what this game was gonna be like. I was like, man, we talked about it last week. I said, man, they can really screw this game up by making some bad decisions. And we talked about it last week, first person versus third person. And I was like, if they could come up with a hybrid way, and you talked about, yeah, that's good, but then they gotta make sure the animations are synced up and everything. And you're absolutely right about that. And but before we get into just the third person versus first person thing, visually, yo, this is it. That's Harrison Ford. It ain't nobody else. The game looks phenomenal. I really like the overall aesthetic of the game. Some people started putting up pictures of Nathan Drake back in 2016 and what
Yeah,
we
I think
got here.
visually it looked all right, but I didn't think it looked like amazing visually.
No,
It
I
looked it
don't
looked
think it, but
okay.
I don't think it's going, I don't think it's, when I looked at it, okay, perfect example. When I look at something like Uncharted or Last of Us, it looks ultra realistic, like to the point where I'm like, I mean, not that it looks real to like real life, but it looks like the closest you're going to get a video game almost to looking like that. Where I think this still looks like a game, but if you look at it like in certain scenes, it looks like you're watching an Indiana Jones movie at certain points. I'm like, the aesthetic of the environments of the game
Yeah, they
look
nailed that.
real.
They nailed the
They
aesthetic,
nailed
yeah.
it. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, I don't think like the game doesn't look better than Last of Us. It doesn't look better than Horizon Forbidden West. I think those are still some of the kings of what a game could look like if you actually just want to push the driver, push the overall aesthetic of the game and the visuals of the game to its fullest. Those games can't be topped right now until somebody finally does it. But for what the IP of this game is in the way it looked, I was like, yo, this looks like Indiana Jones. Like I'm literally looking at an old movie. It looks good. And I really was shocked that it actually came out because I wasn't thinking it was going to be that 1-to-1 almost. It looked really good. But what were your thoughts about just the overall look and aesthetic and graphics of the game?
I'm glad they decided to try to do Harrison Ford's face because he is Indiana Jones. I think they would have encountered some of the same criticisms that Crystal Dynamics and Square Enix got with Marvel's Avengers when they chose not to do Robert Downey Jr.'s face for Tony Stark Iron Man. But it would have been worse for this because Harrison Ford, the only like
It's only
look
one person
to
that
Indiana.
played him.
There's only one person that's ever played him, and the only look to Indiana Jones is Harrison Ford's face. To not do that would be just like I can see a lot of people complaining about that.
Oh,
That
damn.
said, I do think there's kind of a little bit of an uncanny valley going on with some of the facial animations, although they are like
Yeah.
better than what you see with some Bethesda base games, but there's some time there. Like they only said 2024. They didn't say a particular season, which to me tells me this game could actually like they wanted to come out this year, but it might slip to like early Q1 2025 if it has to in order to make sure the game is ready to go, which is fine.
Right.
Never complain about games really getting delayed. But visually, I think some people are being a little harsh with the visual criticisms because it's not finished. And I said the same thing about Spider-Man 2 when people were complaining about its first gameplay reveal and people were pointing out certain things about the game the visuals that didn't look great. And I'm
Right.
just like they got even less time with that game from the summer like May, I believe, when they showed that last year to when they released in October to make it right. And although visually it doesn't Spider-Man 2 isn't like the best looking game ever, but they definitely improved upon what we saw in that PlayStation showcase last year. Same thing with Indiana Jones. They have time to improve it and they likely will because this is the time period and where the visual improvements happen. And yeah, they're definitely going to take care of that. I think it's running on ItTech. I don't know which version of ItTech. All of the previous machine games have been running on ItTech 6, but ItTech is real easy to play on hardware and 4K and stuff like that. So it's probably going to run great on everyone's PC when it does come out, or it won't tax the Xbox Series S too much. But yeah, I'm not tripping off of the visuals. I got other issues with Indiana Jones.
Okay, so let's get to Machines Games rendition of Indiana Jones and the thing that has everybody it's like literally everybody has a it's no in the middle. It's one way or the other. Third person versus first person, Indiana Jones game. Your thoughts, sir?
I said it before. I prefer when it comes for this kind of game, especially an action adventure game. I prefer third person perspective. That's what I prefer, and I think that works the best when you can see the character, especially Indiana Jones. Like we're used to seeing Indy on the big screen. I would prefer to see Indy as I'm controlling Indy in that first person perspective. I know they even tried to explain that in the direct with they thought that this is the best for immersion, whatever. Fine. That's your opinion. My opinion is no. I do not agree whatsoever about that. I would prefer it to be all in third person perspective. And I don't like how the game plays in first person, but then when you do certain stuff like you use the whip as a grappling hook, or you're sliding down like a zip line with the whip, that you go to third person and switch back to first person. I think I'm not a fan of it. That's it. I'm still going to play the game, but I would have preferred it just stayed in third person.
That's you were very respectful with your breakdown of first person and third person and why you prefer it to be one or the other.
Yeah. Also, the melee combat looked.
Well, I don't disagree.
Yeah.
Melee combat. I was like, oh.
Wouldn't you prefer to see Indy like punching a dude and seeing the impact those punches really do, with like him winding up and act like, instead of these little arms just pop out from under the screen and just start snapping somebody in the chin? Come on, man.
Yeah, go ahead.
And then like you're using the whip in combat, which makes sense because Indy uses his whip, pretty frequently. And it's like using the whip in combat. Like I would have preferred, I can see how, because I know some people will be like, oh, but if they just did third person perspective, people would be like, oh, it's an Uncharted clone, it's a Tomb Raider clone. But like neither Lara Croft or Nathan Drake uses a whip in combat. You could have really used that as a way of really making it different than those games and how it plays and how it feels. And it's not. And so, and again, I bring up the people that have issues with first person perspective games and not being able to play them like this. Imagine if this is an IP that's known outside of this kind of media. You get people in who are going to try out Indiana Jones specifically because they like Indiana Jones, and they may not even own an Xbox, or maybe they decide, hey man, I'm going to get an Xbox for this game because they actually renegotiated their contract with Disney to make this exclusive. But then it's like, oh, I can't play it because it's first person perspective, and it's just, I think that's a miss. I think but it's not a huge deal if they can nail it. Because like I'll bring up Cyberpunk again. A lot of people complained about Cyberpunk being first person perspective, and it turned out really well. It's really good. It actually is great. And so it can work. It's just I wouldn't prefer it this way. And I think when it comes to games like Uncharted and Tomb Raider, the direction they went with the third person perspective is really good. It works. Like, why change something from this kind of game that doesn't need to be changed? Like Uncharted and Tomb Raider took inspiration from Indiana Jones. What's wrong with taking inspiration from Uncharted and Tomb Raider? Just doing the same thing. It's just I would have preferred it in third person perspective. I do think though they nailed like the character Indiana Jones and his dialogue. They got Troy Baker, who's probably the best voice actor that's out there playing. You can tell it wasn't Harrison Ford, but he does sound kind of like Harrison Ford, so that's good. You know, Troy was smart to try to emulate Harrison Ford for the part that Harrison Ford is known for, right? But the gameplay wise parts, I just think that they are kind of put themselves in a interesting spot with this.
Yeah, interesting spot. You and a lot of other people in the community feel this way, and I'm not going to tell you you're wrong, because you're not wrong. I will tell you the only part of this game that I feel like truly suffers for not being in third person is the hand-to-hand combat, because I can't get out of my head how Uncharted 3 starts when you're in the bar fight and it was like one of those scenes, you know how PlayStation likes to do, like you think it's a cutscene, but you're actually in the cutscene and you're actually interacting in it. And a person hits you and then you have to hit them back. And I'm like, yo, I'm actually controlling this. That's what when I first saw that for the first time in Uncharted 3, I was like, yo, this is brutal. This is cool. So I do agree when it comes to the hand-to-hand combat. I feel like third person could have been best for this, but that's why I also felt like finding a way to be able to toggle between the two. I think they kind of met more towards the first person side, saying in certain events, like you said, we're going to make it third person, and then the rest of the game is going to be in first, which I don't have a problem with. I just feel like if you're going to go hand to hand, if you're going to do hand to hand combat, it should kind of put you in third person. But I also think that this overall aesthetic they're going for brings more immersion to the game. I think I can see a lot more people being Indiana Jones and not feel like they're watching Indiana Jones. Because like a lot of the people's comments I've been seeing is, oh, I want to see my avatar. I want to see Indy. But a lot of people that play games like this, that get immersed in stuff like that, they just want to feel like they are that character. And that's one of the things that first person brings to you. Now, I will never disagree with anybody on a topic of first person versus third person on a game like this, because I feel like it is 100% a lie if a person tells you a game like this shouldn't be in third person, because that is the overall, I won't even say the best way to play it. It's just a traditional way that a game like this is played, compared to just like the game we talked about earlier with Avowed. It's not that people can't do it. It's just that they prefer a game like this to be this way. I just happen to like the way that they went about showcasing this game. And I wasn't too taken back by seeing it in first person. Like I said, the only thing that kind of threw me off was the hand-to-hand combat. I was like, yeah, I can see where third person would definitely help that out a lot. But I also think people can pick apart anything if they take enough looks at it, you know, especially if you're going into a conversation not liking something. Even if it's not as bad as people are making it seem, you will find a reason to make it sound worse than it is. And I think and that's not saying that you're doing that. I just see a lot of people saying things like that about the differences between first person and third person. Like, for me, it's like, I think the developers made a stylistic choice where, yes, they probably didn't want to get compared to, you know, Tomb Raider or Uncharted. They wanted to kind of make their own game. And I can also see the part where people said, well, shoot, those games got their inspiration from Indiana Jones, so why can't Indiana Jones do that?
Right.
You know, so I can see both sides of it, but I also see, like, you know, these are the developers of Wolfenstein, and this is and let's think, we don't even really truly know how long this game was in development, because it's coming fast.
It started in development before they even before Microsoft acquired ZeniMax Media.
Oh, so it's been in development. It's been for a while.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's been long enough. Okay, So,
but that's not really about. It's nothing to do with Microsoft. This is a
no, this is a stylish
a
choice that
creative
they,
choice, a
yeah,
creative
they did
decision
this.
to kind of do that. And I just kind of look at games like, or developers like, for example, Arcane, who's only done first person perspective games, is doing Blade, and Blade is going to be third person perspective. Like that's a. Can you imagine playing Blade in first person? Like I just can't even imagine not looking at Blade and not looking at like when, especially when you look at the movies of Blade and how Wesley Snipes portrayed that character with all the kind of like the style that he put into it, the combat scenes, like to not really see the character, like, eh, you know. And then you look at Guerrilla Games, like Jeff in the chat mentioned Horizon. People forget that Guerrilla before that was making where what is the name of that Killzone, the Killzone game,
Yeah, Killzone,
first person shooter. Can you imagine the Horizon Zero Dawn and Horizon Forbidden West being in first person perspective?
it
And
would have
look,
been it would have been two rock, literally.
right, and they put so much, they put so much time and development into like Aloy's hair, the animations of her running, all that stuff to really like make it work. Like you can make it work if you're a developer that's only done one thing. You just gotta really go in on that other thing to make it really like pop, to make it look great. And that's not going into how I feel about Horizon actual gameplay, but I don't have an issue with the way they displayed the game. It that was a great decision on their part. Addict says, can you join? Yeah,
Yeah,
Addict, come into the waiting room.
come through, bro.
We'll pull you in.
Yeah, come through, bro.
Yeah, yeah. I just that's not saying that I'm going to not play the game. I would have
Yeah.
preferred I would prefer to be in third person.
No, I agree, and I think a lot of people kind of fall. I mean, let's be for real. More people fall in your camp than any other camp. But I think it's a lot of people. Like I'm looking at Dorian Gray. He's talked about it being more immersive. He wants to be Indiana Jones, not play as any, not see Indiana Jones. And then Erodimus, he talk about how Master Chief. It's a different game, but you feel like you played as Master Chief when you're in first person versus third person, even knowing that's a shooter and it's traditionally a first person game. I think a lot of people just like the overall like aesthetic and immersion that first person brings you. Like I'm one of those people that wonders how much better would Gear. Did they ask you this? Do you think Gears would have been better if it was in first person? Do you think it was perfect in
No,
third?
it was perfect in third.
Why?
And then not only was it perfect in third, it really was innovative when it came out, and how well they did third person cover shooting. So absolutely, it was perfect the way it was.
And I don't disagree with you. I think, but we would have never knew that until somebody tried to do something different. And that's what Cliffy B and everybody on Epic did with that game. I feel like that was the Addict. You got your stuff coming through the TV or your speakers. Like you fixed it, but no, I think that's the biggest thing for me. Like a lot of people had they had an opportunity to come out with it, and it actually hit. Because I definitely agree with you. I think Gears being in third person was the best decision they could have made for that game. But up until that point, most of the shooters came out and been first person and stuff. There were some third person games out there like Brute Force and stuff like that. But this was like one of the most mainstream games that actually bucked that trend and actually went third person. And I remember when it first came out, a lot of people didn't like that decision. But then once you played it, you was like, yo, this is incredible. So I think we just kind of got to give them a chance to see. And like you said, you're still going to play the game. It's still a game that's on your list because it impressed you enough to want to buy it. But it just seems like a lot of
No,
people
I'm
are.
playing it through Game Pass. I'm
Well,
gonna
no,
play
you know
that
what I
through Game
mean.
Pass.
Well, you do buy you have Game Pass, so you had to pay for it. So
Yeah.
you're still
I
doing
do
that.
wonder with them just saying 2024. I think it's most likely this is going to be a game that would be coming out if it does come out in 2024 in the tail end of the year. And if that is the case, I think that they should probably, if it gets beyond October and they still don't have a release date, and I don't think you want to go up against some of the big heavy hitters that would be like Call of Duty, your own Call of Duty game. You don't want that cannibalizing the attention away from Indiana Jones, especially when it's a licensed game and there's obligations there with Disney/Lucasfilm. You may want to just delay that to Q1 2025 and just to give it that air to breathe.
Yeah.
If that's good.
So I do want to welcome one of our friends, one of the most coolest people in this community. Really good YouTube channel. 1/4 of the Iron Lords podcast. Shout out to the Realm. A man with over 60, almost 6,500 subs on this channel, put in that work on the Xbox. Got a new channel called the Addicts Arena that does all his live streams and stuff. So we're going to make sure that all that stuff's in the description that basically shot him out. Gaming Addict, what is up, sir? How are you doing? And tell me what you think about the conversation we're having around Indiana Jones.
I would have preferred it to be third, but I like the type of games that Machine Game makes when it comes to first person. And what's funny is I've never beat any of the games. When I always play, because the Wolfenstein, like the time period doesn't really like appeal to me much at all. Mm-hmm. And like just the way that they go about, like I like the gameplay, but I really like the immersive that they're able to do. And I think as terms of first person, there's really not many people that can do a better immersive. Well, I wouldn't even call it immersive sim, but they're able to be. They're one of the few that I've seen to make it work. And it's their games are very immersive for what they are. And especially not being in third person, because I would say a lot of the most popular games are that are people liking these type of genres are third person. So that's the biggest thing I'm looking at. Like as much as I would have preferred it to be third person. Like I'm looking at what they do, and I'm like, you know what? If there's anyone I trust doing Indiana Jones, because it'd be different if they showed us like a god awful showing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's not really the case. Like they did show us a pretty good showing of what they put out there. It's like, look, like I get it. People are disappointed that they wanted a different, aspect, but it's like what they showed was impressive. You can have a argument on whether or not you would have preferred it the other way around, but to me, what they showed isn't enough to just automatically assume it's going to be bad. I feel like they showed you enough and they showed you quality enough to where it's like, okay, let me at least see what they got going on.
Yeah, I don't think it's worth people completely dismissing the game unless you're someone like I mentioned before, like the people who like they get physically ill in a lot of first person perspective games. I could see someone like that choosing to skip it due to that, because that's an actual health thing that they have going on. But if you don't have those kind of issues, I don't think it's worth saying, oh, this game's going to be complete garbage and I'm going to completely skip it. I don't really see people saying that unless they are they kind of fight for a certain camp, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, so when you look at the gameplay, it's like one of those things. It's like, all right, I wanted this to be third, but I can see the vision. I just got to see if they execute it. Like, I felt like some of the most immersive first person stuff I've ever seen Machine Games has made it. Like at the beginning of one of the Wolfensteins where homeboy's rolling his way down the all the hallways in a wheelchair, and then you're shooting while putting your whole body on like this conveyor belt. Like they know how to do that immersive first person action adventure. And if there's anyone in this industry that can pull that off, I do believe it's Machine Games.
Yeah. Well, I hope they do. I'm still gonna play it, regardless.
It's like I said, I gotta be disappointed.
I gotta get the disappointment out of my system because and then get over it.
I truly believe that's what it is. Everybody, like the only reason I wasn't disappointed is because I didn't have an expectation that it was gonna be one way or another. Like I said, the only time during that whole reveal that I was like really thought about the differences between first person and third person was the combat. When it came to hand-to-hand combat, I was like,
I think better. my biggest disappointment is you could clearly tell they already did a lot of the back end work. We're letting you see, Indy in certain aspects, on certain like climbing aspects of it, cutscenes. It's like you already have these character models in the game. Why didn't you just make it to where at the beginning they said, "Do you want to play this way or entirely third person?" I feel like since you already went above and beyond, just take it home and give the people the option.
I think something that's curious to think about, and we probably won't get a chance to actually know for certain until we play the game. But the choice to go with third person in certain sequences, like it's fine when climbing up the ladder, you switch to third person, okay, because it's kind of like you're not in the actual combat situation at that point. That's traversal, but the parts where it's like it looks like he throws the whip to use it as like a grappling hook, so to speak, and then he goes into third person's perspective to swing. I think coming out of that when you're in combat could be disorienting for the player. So they're gonna have to make sure that that's like something. The transitions aren't like jarring. Like I go throw the whip to go from one higher platform to with enemies below me to another higher platform. When I come out of it, I don't even really know exactly where I am on the level, and I could end up getting shot up by an enemy because it takes me a moment to kind of readjust.
I guess the part that like I'm frustrated with the most is like, even though I do feel like they should have gave you the option if they already went that above and beyond to give you those third person shots in certain aspects, it's like if the developers feel more comfortable doing this, let them do it the way they feel comfortable. Because it's like, what would have been worse? They do in third person and they don't capture anything that you would want them to capture. It's like, damn, maybe they should have tried it in first person. It's like right. To me, it's like, let them develop their own damn game. Like, because I do feel like we get in this weird tendency where I do think this game would have been received better as a third person, but I do feel like people automatically now, like, if it's not third person and it's an action adventure, I'm not fucking with it. And it's like, then how are we supposed to evolve the first person if everyone wants third person content?
And that's the main reason I brought up the Gears of War point, because I felt like it was the game. Everybody at first was like, yo, why is this not in first person? But then when they got a chance to play it, it's like, yo, this actually feels really good in third person. And that is something that a lot of people didn't think would happen until they got a chance to see it. So I understand everybody's disappointment, because games like this traditionally are in third person. But with it being Machine Games with their pedigree in first person shooters and just in a first person type of gameplay, I feel like it should just be the chance is given. Like, it's not like their first time doing it. It's like, this is something that they always been good at making in first person. Now let's see if they can actually make a game that traditionally when you played in third person, let's see how it turns out in first person. And I do agree with you, Addict. This game would definitely been more received better if they just came out and did it in third person.
That's why I said, like, they already went and did all that info and all that work. Should have just gave the player the option. Because it'd be different if you didn't do any work in third person, but like, you essentially, like, traverse was going to be a lot of the game. So like, you kind of already like did a lot of the work. Just give you the option to do it just free roaming around. Because if they're letting you go up, they already have the character models. So I can maybe they want you to play this way. Maybe the game's designed to play this way, and that's cool. It's like, look, I was seeing set pieces in the trailer when he was jumping from plane to plane. Like, look, machine games can do this. I know people want third, and I agree with you. Third would have been a better choice, but I'm telling you, machine games can make it Indiana Jones first person, and it works.
Yeah, I agree. And guess what? On PC, they'll probably break it and make it so you can play it in third person.
Exactly. I'm jumping on that mod ASAPO.
Because I guarantee, like you just said, Addict, the fact that they went out of the way to make sure that all of those transitions and animations and the character body was already there, that it didn't just disappear. That's there. It's just in a first person mode. I guarantee if they unlock the third person aspect of that game in a mod, it's more than likely there so you can play it in third person. So only time will tell on that. But I do want to give you a chance to give us your thoughts on the other parts of the direct that you liked and stuff when it comes to the other games that they show. What was your takeaway from the other games they showed, Attic?
It was damn near like I understand like Avowed still there's something with Avowed. I still have 100% faith in Obsidian, but what they've showed, I don't have faith in what they shown. Like if I didn't play Obsidian games the way I played them, and I've only seen the combat in the information they've given, I wouldn't know what to think. But even though that the back of my mind's like, yo, you know, I ain't, you know, this kind of looking a little sus in certain aspects. I'm like, but this is Obsidian, and you can argue they've never made a bad game, like ever. Yeah. Outer Worlds, and a lot of the times they make better shit than the people that made the shit. Like they made the best Fallout game. I think, you know, I wouldn't say that Knights of the Republic 2 is better than the first one, but I would say that if you were to say that they were around the same, I wouldn't argue with that. I think that's wrong. I think Knights of the Republic 1's good, but I do think the second one could hold a fire to the first one, just not be better. And it's just like
KOTOR 1's better than KOTOR 2.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I would disagree with you, but if you said that, I wouldn't like argue with you about it because I can understand why you would like aspects from the second one over the first one. But it's just like Stick of Truth, phenomenal game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Pillars of Eternity, phenomenal game. Pentiment, you know, I don't think that was really the thing. Is Pentiment wasn't made with the formula of Obsidian. It was like something really that they wanted to do was different.
I really enjoyed it though. I thought it was very well done. It's kind of in the vein of like a Disco Elysium kind of RPG. And I think it's not as in depth and deep as Disco Elysium is, but I thought the story was very well done.
Even Grounded found its audience. Like Obsidian can hit this easily. I wouldn't be surprised if Avowed is their most is their best rated game this year.
Well, I mean, it's the one game I like the most from the showcase, so I can see that. And I think it wouldn't be because of the things that people seem to complain about. Like I've seen on the timeline, a lot of people kind of feel like the combat looks outdated. And I think that most people are looking at like animations, that kind of thing, or the abilities or powers don't seem very dynamic to them. But I think the strengths of what Obsidian does is their storytelling, that kind of BioWare feel to narrative choice that we all like, or a lot of people who like Western RPGs like. And if they nail that, if they deliver that same level of quality that they had with the Outer Worlds in Avowed, I think it definitely would be a game that when it's all said and done on 2024, people will be thinking highly of Avowed compared to thinking it's a disappointment.
Yeah, I think out of all these games, the only game, I know people are going to disagree, I don't think Hellblade, I think it might rate high, but I don't think, I think people have like it's not necessarily high expectations. Maybe it's because I don't like the game. I've never liked the Hellblade franchise. So I don't really see like I like in-depth combat in a lot of ways. That's why I play like the Souls games and you know I'm a huge turn-based person because I like to think when I do stuff. And it's just like nothing about Hellblade and Hellblade 2 has like enticed me at all. Like every time I see that, I feel like I get less and less excited for it. I'm still gonna play it most likely, but it's just like there's a time where I thought Avowed wasn't coming out this year. And I was like 2024 looking like a duck when it comes to Xbox because that's the game I'm excited for by Xbox. Indiana Jones came out of nowhere, and I'm still debating if that game comes out this year. Like they felt confident enough to throw winter and summer on these games, but when it comes to Indiana Jones, yeah, let's just put 2024. Like,
yeah, I think it might actually go into Q1 2025.
But then again, you know, they might see it coming out between summer and winter and don't know which one. Maybe it's a July game, early July game, or late like August or early October game, and you know maybe that is the reason they didn't want to like stamp anything on it. But it's just like when I came into this event, back in my mind was like I'm going to know for the most part where these games are going to be released. And I didn't get that. And, you know, I got disappointed with it. You know, I think the show was fantastic. I think the pacing was good. I think the content was good. For the most part, I think they could show Avowed a little bit better. But, you know, besides that, and I didn't even think they didn't show Avowed in a bad way. It's just I think they could show it better. And it's just like the frustrating thing is like, you know, when I say, you know, I wish I would have seen release dates, just have all these people at me, what do you mean release dates? And I'm just like, look, man, like certain people grade these expectations in different ways. And the way I went into this particular event, I wanted to see more release dates than anything. And I felt like we only got one solid release date. Like you can make an argument that Avowed and Indiana Jones can get pushed to 2025. And I couldn't argue with you because one said holiday of 2024 and one didn't even have a window.
I think Avowed is more safer than Indiana Jones. I think that's coming. I think that's September, October at the latest.
They said fall. They said fall. So like they literally are talking about like
September and December.
August to
early December.
November. Well, September to November then. Yeah. So yeah, I think and the reason why I kind of think like they should probably push Indiana to early next year is that you got so much coming out around that time period. Now Call of Duty is your game. So you need to kind of craft your release dates around that massive IP that you know is going to just like the black hole sucking up all the oxygen in the room. You got Avowed somewhere in that time field. You got Stalker 2, which is a game that you have timed exclusive to your platform and you're doing the marketing for. That's also in September.
Yep, September 5th.
There's so much in that time period that why drop Indiana Jones around that time frame? And it's like this it's your game too. Like all these are technically your game, even Stalker 2 to a degree. Just go ahead and put that in like February of 2025, and then with some of this, we saw how Disney had the contract situation set up for Wolverine through the Insomniac leaks, where you had to have there's a certain amount of revenue that you have to generate for Disney to not lose the contract or to not have it revoked or whatever. I don't think Indiana Jones's revenue, how much they need to earn, is anywhere near Wolverine because the IP is nowhere as big. Yet, you want to give yourself as much breathing room as possible, and coming in later in the year and then having your own games be so much of your competition. I don't think that's a smart idea.
Yeah, I think their biggest thing is I do think they have a lot of games coming out, and there's probably a lot of variables that they want to see in terms of the third-party partners that are coming out. So I think that's probably why they're like a little vague on release dates. But, part of the issue that irritates me is like what's going to end up happening this June showcase. We're going to see the same damn games there. Because guess what? They got to show a release date now.
Yep. Yep. Can't put it to rest.
Mm-hmm. But I think with the games they showed today by the June showcase, they'll just do like a small little trailer with a release date, and that's it.
Yeah, I
And then
feel
they'll
you.
be
But at the same
focusing
time,
on everything else.
it's like just do that in the pre-show. Then don't take. I mean, not the pre-show, the extended thing they do a couple days later. If they do that again, like don't take up time for stuff that we actually want to hear from, the stuff that's in the works. Don't take that time when no one's asking for that. Like you chose to come out there. I would have preferred them at this point if they didn't show, if they knew if they're like, okay, Indiana Jones can be ready, we just gotta wait. Okay, then you should have held on to that and ended the June show with it, with a release date.
Yeah.
But I get it. I've just gotten to the point where I just want release dates. I don't care about nothing else. I just want release dates.
Yeah. I agree. Shout out to the 59 people we got here right now. We got half that in likes, so hit the like button, y'all. Really appreciate it. Definitely helps the video find other people. We only got 2 left. Addict, they're really quick ones, so if you want to stick around for them, you can. The rumored Halo Battle Royale canceled by Certain Affinity, codename Project Tatanka. It looks like that game is no more. Do you even care, Slow-Mo?
Not really. I mean, I was kind of curious about a Battle Royale Halo game and how they would implement that, because Battle Royale games are so different than just straight an arena shooter. So like what different like abilities would they have? Would it be more kind of like Halo Reach, where there's like certain not specializations, but certain tools that you could use that made like your Spartan a little different than everyone else if you chose to do so? I wonder that they would kind of go that route. It's rumored to be canceled. I don't think that's it's not something that most Halo fans care for anyway. And I think Halo fans come into 2 camps. They want more content for multiplayer, or they want more story content for campaign. And this was never really anything that was going to be for Halo fans. This was going to be something that was going to try to draw in non-Halo fans to the franchise. And I think overall, if it took off, if they did release it and it was really popular, the people who would be playing it wouldn't engage on the campaign side or the multiplayer side of things anyway. It would be kind of like how people play Warzone. And when it comes to Call of Duty, people will play the Call of Duty. For the majority, the people who play are engaged in the Call of Duty ecosystem are playing Warzone more than anything. And then Warzone releases, or the new season of it or whatever, releases a little bit later after the game launches. And it's typically people are playing the multiplayer and like for the last one, zombies and stuff like that, to get weapons that they will eventually use in Warzone. But once Warzone launches, they're all in on Warzone, and the multiplayer side of the community drops dramatically. And I think unless you're doing things like that to get these non-Halo gamers who were into this battle royale into the other parts of the game, then they would just ignore it, because Halo is, even though I hate to say it because I love Halo, it's like the old guy shooter. It's not what the young kids are about. It's the old guy shooter. And so it's it's not that big a deal to me. But if Certain Affinity has canceled this, what are they doing then? What, as the support studio for 343, are they working on campaign content for Halo? Then if that's the case, awesome. But if not, then I want to know what's up.
Right, yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. Attic, you got anything you want to say about it?
I think it's best I just leave this subject alone.
Okay, got it. Me personally, the only thing I really want to see from Halo is campaign footage stuff at this point.
I do think that.
Oh, now you want to say something? Go ahead.
No, I don't want to talk about like whether or not it's canceled or not.
Oh no, you ain't gonna talk about it. Just talk about what you think about it in general.
I do think that they needed it, but I think the time is gone. And you know, if they would have launched a prominent battle royale arena, and they both had the same battle pass, and they worked together, and you could do arena and you could do the BR, and you could still level up the same battle pass. I think it would have worked out better for them in the long run, because they would have got the newer audience than the older audience, and you could have promoted both of them. You know, if you want this particular armor, you got to play arena, and then vice versa. And I feel like they would have been in a better position in the long run. But I think at this point, it's a wrap for that. You know, I do think they still could do a battle royale, but as far as like, because I mean, you think about it, the Halo universe is designed for a battle royale. They could do it easily. Like, I thought it would be cool if, like,
have people going down like hell jumpers onto the you know how like battle royales always have people like up in the sky, then they go down, like have like someone going down like hell jumpers onto a Halo ring, and I mean that's kind of like your setup right there is so easily something that you could do in Halo.
Yeah, I'm looking at it from like, you know, it'd be cool if like they had sections of the map where if you go to and you fought it was like an objective. You could turn one of your members to a Spartan. Like they had so many aspects they could have did with a BR with Halo. They could have had the ODST dropouts as well. They could have made iconic maps like Reach. They could have did the thing that Call of Duty does, where they put certain maps in one battle royale. Like you can go to the Guardian section. Like they could have did a lot, and it's frustrating that I feel like Halo Infinite, if it was running on a triangle aspect, where one part of the triangle's campaign, one part of it is the battle royale, and the other part's arena, and they're all working together simultaneously. I think that is the only way Halo Infinite could compete.
That's actually a good point right there.
If they were able to hit all those points and have them done well, and they work together, you have the same battle pass for both of them, I do feel like they wouldn't beat Fortnite, but they could compete with the war zones and the Fortnites. But just being arena, you're not going to compete with these battle royales. You're just not.
No, arena shooters just aren't as popular as they used to be. You know, now, you know, and it's kind of funny how like you kind of see the like the evolution of live service games and what's popular now. Now people not even doing battle royales no more. It's like that market is oversaturated at this point. If you try to launch a battle royale now, good luck, because you're probably going to fail. Now everyone's jumping on extraction shooters. So it's, even though it's still one big map, everyone's kind of, you know, like different teams or whatever getting into, the goals are different. Instead of being the last one left alive, you have a team and you're probably like gathering resources or getting gear, and then you extract, and the stuff that you get you keep, and then you can make it a loadout, and then you can go back in. But if you die, you lose that stuff. So there's some weight to it. There's some apprehension. And there are a lot of people don't like that kind of stuff. I think extraction shooters, I'm not quite certain, are something that's going to be successful on consoles as it is on PC, because it's a genre that is strong on PC, but I haven't seen a console game actually really take hold with that yet. I guess we'll see how that turns out with Marathon coming out soon, and Fair Games is kind of extraction-ish, but it looks like it's might be a little bit more kind of like Payday as well. And The Division Heartland is an extraction shooter, and I feel like the Arc Raiders was changed from a 4-person co-op shooter to an extraction shooter. So those games, when they launch on consoles, I'm really curious on how that turns out, because I can see a lot of people, and I'm one of them, that's not really too cool with, like, I get all this gear. I got like my best loadout, and I go in the game and I die and I lose everything, or at least I lose it. Like I'm not cool with that. I can understand in the dark zone in the division when you pick up something, you're trying to extract with it, someone kills you and takes it. All right, I didn't really have it, and like I never put it on my build on my character. But when I have stuff, and then you strip me naked, and now I'm leaving the game without my best gun, without my best whatever like chess piece or whatever. I'm like, nah, I'm not too cool with that.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I just think when it comes to Battle Royale, like Addy said, that ship sailed a while ago. If you were in while the get was good, there's no reason to come out with it now. And I think, and it may not even be because it wasn't a good BR. It could have been a phenomenal BR, but I also think at a certain point they see the data on how BRs are doing. You know, Fortnite is still doing the best of all of them, but how are all the other ones doing though?
It's another aspect too that I don't think a lot of people brought up. They own one of the most profitable BRs in gaming right now too. So it's just like they own Warzone.
They see the numbers. They see the numbers.
If you did build up Halo BR to be this massive thing, then you'd have to compete with another one of your own BRs, or you could just at this point, since you didn't do it, just let Halo be an arena shooter and not have to compete with something like a Warzone.
That's a good point too. All right, moving on to the final topic. Stalker 2 delayed to September 5th. The only thing I want to say about this is finally getting closer and closer to this game coming out. But I will say this is probably the best detailed way and thoughtful way that you could tell somebody you're delaying a game. Like, they literally broke it down piece by piece.
Why I like that.
That was the number one thing I took.
I like the amount of detail they had in.
They literally told you every reason why they're delaying this game, and not to try to come off as a sympathetic thing. It was just a simple fact. We all know what happened with that studio over the course of the last year or so, and the trials and tribulations they had to go through to get this game even to the point that it is now. But the level of transparency that they put into that post to just tell you that they were delaying the game until September 5th at the end of this year, I thought was something that I know we're not going to see from other people, but I definitely want to give them their flowers for actually doing that. So what are your thoughts on, I'll go to Attic. What are your thoughts on Stalker 2 being delayed to September?
I wasn't going to play it anyway, so it didn't really bother me.
Oh, you don't like those type of games? Attic.
What?
You don't like those type of games?
Not really.
I got you. Slow-mo, what about you?
I'm gonna try it. It's the developer, they kind of like I don't know if they were a offshoot from I forgot the name of the developer, but the guys that do the Metro games. But I can't A4, yeah. So I've never didn't play the first Stalker game, so I don't know exactly how it plays, but I've always had the impression from what I've seen and that it plays similar to Metro, and I didn't really care for Metro like that, so I was going to try it, but I wasn't so like, oh man, this is a day one for me kind of thing. But I do appreciate the amount of detail, like you said, like that was they definitely put their Twitter blue privilege
they
to use
those
because that's a long read, but I like the amount of detail they put into it to explain to their the community and the people who were looking forward to the game why it was delayed one more time, and that they said look, this is the final delay. The actual release date will be September 5th, which is good. They put a hard stop on that. And I also think that just, that developer is based in the Ukraine, and there's a war there. And there's
everyone, they have the ultimate excuse to be delaying. They could delay that game 2 years and it would still be acceptable. Like
Right. Technically, it has been delayed 2 years because it's supposed to come out like in 2022, and it's coming out this year. So it's just, they've got the official you're good. They got the you're good pass when it comes to them. So hopefully comes out. Hope it's great. You know, because I really want. It's like this is one of the studios you kind of root for because of everything that we had to deal with. So I hope it does really good.
Yeah, definitely. With that being said, guys, really appreciate you. Everybody in the chat, appreciate everybody came through. Please, in the comment section below, if you're checking out the video later, let us know what your score on the overall event for the Direct for Xbox was. Addict, do you want to give a score for it?
7, 8 out of 10. You know, it's an 8 if I don't think a whole lot. It's a 7 if I think a whole lot.
That's a good. Okay, what about you, Slow Mo?
I gave it an 8. I'll stick with my initial thoughts of it right afterwards. I gave it an 8. I thought it was a fine showcase. There was nothing there that I thought was like looked horrendous or anything like that. But it also wasn't. I wasn't like eyes popping out of my head, like gushing, fanboying out. Oh my god, kind of feeling for any of these games either. So it's a solid 8.
I'm in the same boat. I just think when I first saw it, a lot of things I just wasn't expecting to look the way they looked, and I was like, okay, that's something that looks good. This and the thing is, I hate the fact that we have to go off of like, oh, this just looks so good, because that's kind of been a narrative with Xbox games, like, oh, it looked like it could play good, but it doesn't look good, and it looks like with at least these games that they showcased today, for the most part, they all look good. They all look like they belonged in this generation of games. Now, what it comes down to when it finally releases is a whole nother thing. And let's just hope that Xbox keeps going in the same direction that they've been kind of going in over the course of the last couple of years. And but it's good to see that we got some dates for at least the one I care about, which is Hellblade. And I know, Attic, like you said, you wish they gave us more dates on some of the other stuff. So I guess we got to wait till June, which a lot of people probably don't want to do, because that means we're going to see him again in June anyways. But with that,
I think
go ahead.
I think the biggest thing to me, real quick, while we hang off, is I do think these games are coming out this year. It's just Microsoft has a habit of giving people enough information to shut some people up, but not enough to change the narrative.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah,
I can see that.
That's why that man makes the big bucks over there on YouTube. Shout out to Gaming Attic at the Gaming Attic podcast channel and everything. You know, 1/4 for the Iron Lords. Please let everybody know where they can find you, Attic, what you got going on in your channel. You know, you did a couple of videos today. Let people know where they can find you and stuff if they don't already know.
You can find me on Twitter at Gaming Addict, at Lord Addict IOP. You can find me on YouTube at Gaming Addict. I have a streaming channel, Addict Arena. You know, my girl's asleep, so part of me thinks, as long as the Power World servers aren't too bad, maybe I'll stream that 3 or 4 hours tonight and go to bed and act like I've been asleep all night. So, we'll see what happens though. We'll see what happens, because I am interested. Power World to me is what would actually happen if Pokemon was real.
I'm with you.
Pokemon's the PG. This is the real Pokemon. Like,
it's the radar version with real slavery.
This is rated R for real life.
Shout out to you, bro. I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming through and giving us your
absolutely
your wisdom on this stuff. Slow Mo, please, my man, let everybody know where they can find you, what you got going on in your channel, and your channel members if you got them up.
Slow Mo Backslap on all social media, and I'm almost done with my Exodus video for Archetype Entertainment. And there's like, I appreciate Archetype Entertainment for providing so much information on like the lore of the game and how it'll play and their influences on certain things, and so because all that information has made it so it's a lot to parse through and then add for the video. But I should have that out sometime this weekend, I think. And on the DPS channel, I have been streaming. I mentioned this earlier, but I'll say it again. I've been streaming Final Fantasy VII Remake on PC with all the crazy mods and whatnot. I've done about 4 streams so far, about 10 hours in. I anticipate probably doing another one tomorrow, so come through for that. Like I said, on the Damage Per Second podcast channel, and that's about it. Let me get the channel. Do you have your channel members already?
Yeah, I have them up already. I have them.
All right, go ahead. I have mine in a second.
First of all, I do want to say shout out to your boy Roy. He joined the 10%ers 2 days ago. You know, I guess it was just basically of watching the video, and he joined the family. So shout out to your boy Roy for joining up. But for everybody else, we got FTW, Donnell Brown, Erodimus, Brat, Basement Radio Arcade Podcast, Stardust Acero, Ramon Terrell, Hargy Chani, Corey Hale, Slow-Mo Backslap, DJ Oris, and that guy Smitty. Really appreciate you guys and all the love and support that you guys support. And it's not needed, but we definitely appreciate it. Go ahead, Slow-Mo.
Yeah, I got your boy Roy, Donnell Brown, J0387, Erodimus, Enrique, Hargy Shani, Truth Serum, Trevor Birdsong, Homie One Kenobi, Gaming Forte, Corey Hill, Stardust Acero, and that guy Smitty. Thank you guys for supporting us. We really appreciate that, and we also hope that you appreciate the content that we provide. So, you know,
absolutely. Check us out. Links for Gaming Addict will be in the description. Slow Mo's is already down there, so go check him out. And we will see you guys next week for episode 164 on Slow Mo's channel. It's going to be a great time. Check out videos on this channel when it comes to developer direct stuff that came out. I'm going to do individual videos for some of the stuff that I care about the most and break it down a little bit more. But with that, have a good weekend. Enjoy the games that you're playing. And
I just thought about something. Tomorrow's my birthday. I think I might do a lunchtime with Slow-Mo tomorrow. I haven't done one this week.
Tomorrow's your birthday?
Tomorrow's my I am T-minus 56 minutes until I'm officially 43 years old.
You want me to make, is it going to be a lunchtime with Slow-Mo?
I might do one. I might do one tomorrow.
You want me to make you want me to, replace your cheeseburger on your thumbnail with a cake?
No.
I can do that.
I'm good though. I'm good.
Let everybody know it's your birthday.
Well, I mean, I'll just be like, hey, look, birthday stream. I'll put it in the title.
Same thing. It looks better when you put it in the thumbnail too. But no, happy birthday or happy early birthday, Slow-Mo, and I'll tell you again at some point today or tomorrow. But with that, check them out.